Welcome to 5 Stripe Weekly. 2 favorable results to start off the MLS season, but Atlanta United faces their first major test with Club America this week. We break down everything Atlanta United can do to get a result. All that and more, coming up.
Welcome to the show, 5 Stripe fam. I'm AJ, and this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become a member of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button or hop over from Facebook and subscribe. Sore from a weekend of soccer? There's a relaxing and affordable massage with your name on it. Massage Heights is a charming day spa that offers an exclusive escape from everyday routines. Refresh your mind, body, and spirit with a personalized spa treatment from Massage Heights. With 6 locations around Atlanta, look no further, book today to avoid the rush. An identical scoreline this week has us top of the East after 2 matches. 2-1, of course, was the scoreline against FC Cincinnati in our home opener. And yeah, I mean, you know, lots of people were there to see Atlanta United do quite well, I think, in terms of results. In terms of performance, maybe not exactly perfect, but at least this is how we lined up on the night. You saw John up top with Petey and Barco. You saw that midfield pretty much persist as the same with Hyman and Remedi, and the fullbacks in Lennon and Mulroney the same as well. The one surprise, I think, was in the back line with Lawrence Wyke as that right center back. Mesa and Walks, of course, filled out the rest of that back line. But yeah, in terms of how they played, I mean, yeah, Wyke, I think, showed a lot of panache with the ball a little bit, and definitely sprayed it out to the left. Definitely one over the top to Barco that was very
it was a beautiful pass, and I think that's unfortunate for him that he ended up, you know, going off injured with a concussion. I was surprised he carried on as long as he did, because you could see a massive like mark on his head from the head-to-head collision that he had. But yeah, I thought he played well. You know, he
was like 15 more minutes.
Yeah, he was a bit nervy in the first match when he came on against Nashville, but he looked pretty comfortable in this case. He wasn't tested too much, but on the ball he showed composure and he showed the confidence to pick out that ball, and that's something that Dan Gargan mentioned on the broadcast. You know, as a young player, if you can go out and do that, that really gets your confidence going, which is so important, you know, to play in front of that many people. You got to be confident in yourself. So
it also helps when they don't really press him. And,
yeah, that's the most important thing, is that Cincinnati didn't really press anybody in this game, so until the very end of the match, and so he had the time to be able to lift up his head and pick out that pass. But still, it was a good start for him. Unfortunate that he had to come off, but it seems we have a bit of a center back curse in terms of injuries.
Yeah, and so yeah, Lawrence Wyke with the kind of 2 hits to the head, unfortunately has to come off. I think probably a decision by him ultimately at the end of the day, where he was just like, yeah, I shouldn't continue, even though it seemed like he was still able to walk around. But
somewhere Taylor Twellman's swearing.
Yeah, exactly. But George Campbell gets his MLS debut, which is great for the kid, 18 years old. I mean, that's just what were you doing at 18? But
I was in high school.
Yeah, exactly. But and probably most of us, yeah, you know, high school, going into college, not knowing what the hell you're doing with your life. This kid is playing at a sold-out, packed stadium. Yeah. Ridiculous.
He also does not look like an 18-year-old. He's a unit.
Not. Yes,
he's
indeed.
A unit.
He's yeah, he's a big boy. But yeah, in terms of his performance as well, I feel like was very solid. Yeah, I mean, a little bit nervy, a little bit you know, trying to feel out the game a little bit.
Kind of like Wyke in his first,
right.
You know, very similar ways of coming onto the pitch and having to be put into a role and being expected to you know, continue performing.
You saw De Boer like grab him by the you know, kind of ribs and just like really tell him, you know, what his game plan should be, and pretty much ultimately it said that at the end of in the press conference afterwards, was that he told him to play his game and just, you know, do the best that he can doing what he does. And yeah, George Campbell is a guy that is, you know, pretty tidy on the ball normally. And yeah, in terms of going backwards, he's still learning that trade a little bit. And so I think you saw a little bit of that, but overall, a very solid, just MLS debut for, you know, an 18-year-old for sure.
And it really helps, of course, when you have the attack and guys like Petey Martinez starting to do what fans anticipated that they'd be doing. And, you know, in the first half, Atlanta gets off to a really good start in terms of creating chances. And then finally, you know, you get that opening goal. And when you score like that, you know, it sets everything off on the right foot.
Indeed, yeah. So, yeah, Petey Martinez, yeah, I mean, he picked up a pair of assists in this match before he exited, but I mean, it's just what he was able to do to get it to the byline, beat a guy, and then, yeah, you saw Ezequiel Barco kind of play like Joseph Martinez, really crash that near post and scores from point-blank range. But, I mean, it is absolutely, I think, really ballsy from Barco because, yeah, smallest guy on the pitch probably, and, you know, he really doesn't care for, or doesn't mind a physical battle, and, you know, he gets in there. And yeah, it's 1-0 to Atlanta United.
And the thing is it could have been 1-0 earlier in the match as well from a fantastic through ball from Petey Martinez. He threaded through about 4 guys and put it on a plate for Ezequiel Barco. He just couldn't finish. But Petey Martinez is getting his head up, and he had a really great long diagonal in the first half as well. And he's showing an all-around game with his range of passing, his dribbling. He's now getting the fouls called as well, which is fantastic. He's turning into a very, very important player, and I think in the 60-plus minutes that he was on the pitch, he was, in my opinion, the best player on the pitch for Atlanta United again, who really spurred them going forward, and it seemed more often than not was making the right decision. And
definitely, I think, yeah, when he was on the pitch, he was definitely, I think Ezequiel Barco ultimately maybe did more at the end of the day to see out the match.
At the end of the match, yeah.
Right, but yeah, in terms of the second goal, Ezequiel Barco, little no-look to Emerson Hyndman, who Emerson Hyndman, yeah,
still had a little bit to do there.
3 touches, and then, yeah, just blast it to the near post, beats the keeper. I mean, yeah, that's, you know, if it's one of those things where, yeah, Hyndman, we got him the goal of the week last week.
He does not deserve.
Didn't deserve.
No, he deserved last week. Does not deserve this week.
He wasn't in the goal of the week this week, and I think there was probably a good reason from MLS.
From just the LAFC Philadelphia game alone. Goal of the year possibly came out of that game, and it's only week 2. I think that you have to definitely give credit to both Barco and to Emerson Hyndman on that second goal. Barco for the pass, it was fantastic to find him. Emerson Hyndman for the awareness to find that pocket of space inside the 18-yard box, and then show the composure to chop the defender, get it around him, and then finish calmly into the corner. That's 2 goals so far in 2 weeks. You've had the same 2 guys score in the same order. You're not going to continue to get that, but what is important is you have to continue to get production from both of these players with Joseph Martinez being out. Yes, Ezequiel Barco, you expect to score goals because of his price tag and basically, you know, his desire to move on to a bigger club. He has to put up the goals. But for a player like Emerson Hyndman, who has come in and has really gotten a big payday in order to be here, he needs to step up and continue to score those goals as well. And so far, he's been doing a decent job. He just needs to continue doing that.
Yeah. For me, I mean, if you're an Arsenal fan, he reminds me of Aaron Ramsey, a guy that has an eye for goal from midfield, either with late third-man runs or just an eye for goal in the box. I mean, he's that type of guy. Just poor man's maybe Aaron Ramsey.
Well, let's just hope that Emerson Hyndman scoring goals doesn't kill people like Aaron Ramsey does.
Exactly, right.
And we'll touch on more of that later, actually.
Oh my God. But in terms of their goal, Yuya Kubo, who I'm proud that there's an Asian person that is a designated player.
First ever Japanese
MLS.
DP.
Yeah, that's really great. I'm not thrilled with the goal that he scored in terms of for Atlanta United. I mean, yeah, a little bit where there wasn't some closing down, definitely from midfield and from
Rometty and from
Campbell.
That both could have closed him down.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of miscommunication. Obviously, Campbell, just MLS debut, didn't really quite know the tendencies maybe of also all, the players that are coming in, new to the league. I get that, but I mean, I think we've kind of conceded very similar goals in our history before. We just kind of lack the wherewithal to really know that, okay, yeah, these guys, from that angle, if they're right-footed, they're probably gonna try to take a shot, and yeah, it's just not quick enough. But
yeah, I think
he put some really good swerve on it.
Yeah, for sure. Well. But I think Brad Guzan also comes into a little bit of criticism on this. I think his positioning may have been a bit too far to that left-hand post, offering a bit too much of the goal to him, and he also got caught a little bit flat-footed to where he couldn't get back to it. Because at the end of the day, yes, there was swerve, but it was still pretty close to the middle of the goal.
He couldn't.
So where you probably could expect Brad Guzan to save that, and he probably himself was disappointed with his effort not being able to save it there. But I think for me, it is 2-1. You go 2-0 up, which was nice. You get that cushion. It seemed maybe a little bit the intensity had dropped a little after the second goal goes in for Atlanta United. Cincinnati does get into the game with that goal from Kubo, but also, you know, it was one of those things where they had more shots, and I went back, you know, and watched the game, and in my fan cam I talked about how they outshot Atlanta United basically 2-1, but when you go and you look at it, and if you look at the XG, none of their chances were very high quality. The goal that they do score is from a very low probability shot as well. And it wasn't as if...
A lot of block shots.
Yeah, a lot of block shots. It wasn't as if they were out-creating Atlanta United. So I think, you know, that's something that I should definitely clarify on, you know, having seen the match back. But also I think there is some nervy tendencies that are developing with Atlanta United, particularly on the left-hand side of defense. In the first or second minute, you know, Cincinnati have a chance to square the ball across the face of goal, but no one's attacking it for them. And Atlanta United has been giving up a lot of passes into those wide areas, whether that's intentional or not, to say, hey, we're fine giving up the space. You can cross it in, good luck. It still is going to be dangerous against better teams, and I think that's the one thing that we have to touch on the most, is that Nashville's in their first season ever, and they're still kind of figuring MLS out, and they were unlucky against Portland Timbers, but Cincinnati is still not a very good team in my opinion. They have some good players, but they're still not a very good team.
Yeah, they're still trying to build chemistry. They're still trying to find their identity of what they're trying to do. And also, I mean, Locadia just came in as their starter. He isn't as acclimated, and so yeah, there is a betting in period.
They have a new manager because theirs got fired before the beginning of the season.
So they have an interim manager, and so it's,
they're not a team that's in the best place to succeed right now. And honestly, I thought that they really played into Atlanta United's hands with their game plan at the beginning. They didn't press Atlanta United, but their line was high enough to where the ball over the top was available, and I was a bit confused as to what exactly they were doing, because I think the blueprint for playing against Atlanta United is to press them, and they started doing that later in the game and gave Atlanta United some trouble. But I found it odd that they were just so, you know, between two minds and not really doing anything defensively to stop Atlanta United in the first half. And you know, that's disappointing in terms of a Cincinnati fan, but also it puts the whole game into perspective. That being said, there are some really quality things I think you can take out of these first two matches. The first being, for me, is that Mesa, I think, is incredible. And some people are already saying he's potentially better than LGP. Easy, LGP made over 100 appearances, I believe, for Atlanta United. But Mesa is showing some things that are different from LGP. He's showing composure and a calmness on the ball and saying, okay, I don't have to run forward. I don't have to play this pass. I can wait. But he also is showing a nice range of passing where he can split three lines and pass it straight to Adam John, and that's something that's very good going forward.
Yeah, and also I think Mesa, he makes his decision really quickly. He doesn't dwell on the ball maybe as much as an LGP, and so there is a little bit of difference for sure in their type of play where, yeah, he does his work early and he knows exactly where he's going to play it before he gets the ball.
And for someone of his height, he's really good in the air because he was going up against a striker who is 6'4", and he was routinely winning the aerial duels there.
Exactly, and so that's, yeah, down to positioning and, you know, wherewithal within the game. And so, yeah, definitely Mesa stood out. Another guy who stood out when he came on for Petey Martinez was Mateus Josetu. Ooh, yeah, he looks silky.
Except for tackling.
Except for tackling, yeah. We prognosticated this, like, yeah, I mean, you know, maybe don't rely on him to do the defensive actions. But, yeah, when he's on the ball, he's always looking to make something happen, and that's really exciting, I think, when he came on. We needed that kind of energy. We needed that kind of push. And, yeah, I think also for Petey Martinez, it was probably to save him for Wednesday as well. I think it was interesting, the subs, but I think it was kind of forced because of injury as well. But in terms of, yeah, because I would have maybe wanted to see Ezequiel Barco taken off, but I guess one of the two at least, you know, Barco, he kind of allowed us to have that kind of release valve. Really helped us kind of hold possession until really even last minute. I mean, pretty much the last possession we had almost was him, you know, just kind of holding it up on the left side of the pitch, going to the corner. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely for me, I think Barco, I think, deserved the man of the match because of, you know, not only assisting Hyman, but, you know, really seeing us out through the entirety. So, but in terms of getting into some of the post-match quotes, yeah, it seems like Frank de Boer, yeah, agrees that it wasn't really the best performance from the boys. He said, quote, "I think overall the whole team did a great effort. I know we can play much better. We worked very hard. Sometimes it was quite difficult for us. They, FC Cincinnati, played in a block and we had to create our own space and everything. It was difficult to find a free man. We had some moments, for example, the great pass that found PT and then directly to Barco, one in the first half. Yeah, I mean, even the 3-against-1 in the second half, ooh, what could have been? But
yeah, I think that's the one frustrating bit for me with Barco in the second half, is that he had a chance to just play the ball first time, and Josetu is going to run onto that. He's a very rapid player from what we've seen so far, and if he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper, we haven't seen him enough, but my guess is that he's probably putting him on his bum and going around him and scoring. So
it was that was an unfortunate one, but you know, I think they were making the right runs. It was just a matter of releasing it just a little.
They'll get better as the season goes on. And I think, you know, I don't want to sound too negative when speaking about the quality of the opposition, but at the same time, results are still important. And compared to last season, where Atlanta United was when we were sitting after 2 games last year with 1 point from 2 matches and a frustrating home draw of this same Cincinnati team, you know, you definitely are in a better place, considering especially the number of injuries that you have. But hey, 2-1 win, 3 points. That's the most important part.
And yeah, in terms of yeah, we didn't speak about Adam John and how he played up top. I think yeah, he held up the ball well. He made those runs that maybe weren't rewarded per se throughout the match. I think his touch may be a little heavy at times, but I think he's still trying to gain chemistry with Petey and Barco. But yeah, I think he definitely opened up space for the other attackers to be able to operate. And so that's, yeah, absolutely very important. Another bit I think we didn't touch on was Ezequiel Barco's celebration for Joseph Martinez, holding up the 7, and I mean, just heartwarming because, yeah, I think you saw them holding up the jersey for Joseph Martinez before.
The tifo.
The tifo. I mean, it is just
and then in the 7th minute, the Joseph Martinez chant goes up.
He's feeling
the love,
dead, hopefully.
But he's loved.
Exactly. And that's really, I think, the point that I think most people were trying to hammer home was that, yes, Joseph Martinez very much appreciated, and that, you know, we were trying to make sure that he felt that. And he was in the stadium, and he was definitely, I think, aware of all that love for sure. In terms of Jake Mulroney and his reactions to the Benz and being there for the first time with it being packed out. He said, crazy. Honestly, it was crazy. Apart from the game, it was an amazing experience. I've said it before, but I think the atmosphere across the water is a little bit more hostile, whereas here it's a lot more supportive. And yep, exactly. So I think, yeah, he gets it spot on. I mean, we're definitely, I think, that type of crowd that, you know, isn't really going to maybe shout like, who are you, or anything like that. We're going to be a little bit more cheering you on for sure. But yeah, in terms of Greg Garza, you know, and, you know, fan favorite formerly of the Five Stripes, he said, yeah, Atlanta obviously is a special place. I think the atmosphere and the energy kind of gives you an extra bit of motivation, I think, for both teams. You're playing in front of 70,000 plus, and it's something that you don't get to do every day. For me personally, this was a place once a home, so obviously playing in front of people that still support you and are still cheering for me is still something that feels very special. He also you know, when Joseph got that injury, he apparently called the night of the injury and talked to him when he was in the hospital. So yeah, they're still the best of buds, and that's, yeah, I mean, Greg Garza, consummate, just professional, good dude. I mean, it's just great to see. Glad that he didn't really, you know,
he got a yellow. Yeah, he got a yellow, and he didn't do too much.
But I wish him luck completely the rest of the season to kill the rest of the league. But that pretty much wraps up the match review, and it gets us to the news. And yeah, that attendance was 69,301, which is 10th in the top 10 MLS all-time attendances, which is just outrageous.
Oh, by the way, all 10 of those,
yeah, are Atlanta United, and that's just what. But that's just the state of Atlanta United. We just own attendance records, and you know, that's may it continue, and may it really kind of rise into some crazy numbers. Hopefully,
make it the top 20 now.
Exactly right. Yeah, we'll just keep going. But in terms of Ezequiel Barco and Petey Martinez, they had a hell of a week, and they made the MLS Team of the Week. Congrats to them. Yeah, either of them could have been man of the match, and yeah, they deserve to be in the Team of the Week for sure. LA United, they brought in a new player, JJ Williams from Birmingham Legion. He was kind of a Columbus Crew player, and then he was loaned there to the Legion, but then he pretty much got waived, and then he was playing with the Legion. And because he's a Generation Adidas player, also that also helps that when we sign him, he doesn't really hit on our budget, which is great. And I mean, the fact is that MLS pretty much pulled him if an MLS team wants him. And yes, LA United definitely needed some depth. I think this is what that type of player is for LA United. But in terms of the type of player he is, he played for the University of Kentucky. He had, I think, 18 goals in 22 appearances, all starts in his last season, along with 8 assists. He's, I think, a guy that is a good little project. Maybe a lot of potential to be a kind of little, I think, decently rapid target forward. Kind of good with some hold-up play. Maybe needs to work on his touch a little bit, but definitely has an eye for trying to pick out a pass and trying to find his teammates to bring him into the game. So I think it's good in terms of someone to at least go along with an Adam John, because if we only have an Adam John, it's going to be really troubling. And so this is someone that can help us in that department for sure. And he's a 6'3", 22-year-old as well. So he's another big one for sure. So in terms of other maybe semi-rumors for some strikers, according to Nicolo Shira, a journalist, he said that LA United are looking into Carlos Bacca. He's a player for Villarreal, of course, famously also maybe for Sevilla, but he's in close to his mid-30s now.
He's 33.
33, and so he's a guy that, in terms of, I think, the plausibility also for LA United, he's an older player. He probably would command some DP wages, and, that would be a little bit kind of like implausible for LA United in that regard. And in terms of how it actually came about in this rumor, it's not really sure, but this guy spoke like he had some inside knowledge, but I have a feeling that it came from one of those MLS listicles that had come out, floating some of the floating 10 options that LA United could look at, because another player that he spoke about was Daniel Sturridge. And I mean, he's banned from signing with football teams in at least 3 months. So it's probably a little bit implausible, this one. But in terms of another guy that we apparently were looking at and trying to get from Houston Dynamo, Christian Ramirez, famously probably that we were aware of from Minnesota United, as well as LAFC, but they apparently turned down the offer. That's according to Christian Dyer. And so, the search continues for sure for another striker and someone to help fill in while Jose Martinez is recovering and gets a surgery, which has not been really, hasn't been determined yet, hasn't been, in terms of what the severity is yet either. So, it's still a wait and see in that regard. A report from Der Telegraaf, a Dutch website, it says that LA United and De Boer's agent Guido Albers are searching the market to find a young, fast, and talented striker who's riding the bench at a large club and that can be loaned. That makes sense. Definitely, I think, is the territory of what we're looking at. It's just how big of, a name in that type of territory, and that's the tough part, because if we get into anything more than TAM territory, it's going to be hella difficult. We're going to have to do some MLS finagling, maybe do some LA Galaxy type things, but we'll see.
We'll see.
But in terms of the U.S. men's national team and that international window that's coming up, Brooks Lennon is not going to be a part of it, even though he could have been. Apparently, he said to the media, he said, "It's always an honor to get called up to the U.S. team. Atlanta United chose not to release guys outside of the international window. I respect that decision. That's it." Seems like, I mean, he, maybe was chosen, but isn't able to take part.
Olympic qualifying, I believe, right?
Olympic qualifying, and
sorry.
Champions League has a little bit of a part to play, a little bit.
There's club games, so no.
And then there's also that he's pretty much our only right back right now to a degree where he could play right back. He's not a right back out and out, I think, but definitely it makes it a lot tougher. But in terms of if you had YouTube TV, if you were a subscriber there, yeah, Fox Sports has reached an agreement with YouTube TV, and so yes, you can get your Atlanta United from there again. There was a little bit of a contract dispute, and it's good to see that, yeah, people have options other than Hulu and all that, so good for that. And in terms of Atlanta United 2, they played their USL opener this past weekend. They lost 1-0 to our old friends in the Charleston Battery.
See you again in June for the US Open Cup.
Exactly, pretty much. But Daniel Steedman and Philip Goodrum, they made their pro debut with the reserve squad. George Bello and Luis Fernando, they were part of the 11 as well as the first teamers. They, in terms of Bello, he's was subbed off, I think, in the second half, and yeah, I think had a Wednesday in mind with the CCL. Probably could play a part if we need him to. But and what's interesting as well is that Amir Bashti is the number 10 for LA United 2. Famously, he was, you know,
drafted, cut, let go, joined someone else, and just appeared again.
Yeah, so,
hey,
you know,
good for him.
Yeah, he got the number 10.
Apparently, he played really well yesterday as well.
Yeah, so, you know, great to see. Hopefully, he continues that. For the Phoenix Rising, Lagos Kunga, he scored their 5th goal to pretty much ice it completely. Good on Kunga, great to see. And a former Atlanta United Academy player in Will Vint. I think when he moved to the Colorado Rapids, we kind of saw the writing on the wall that, yeah, he was probably going to become a homegrown for the Colorado Rapids, and that was the case. They announced it this past week. And yeah, famously, in a sense, I keep saying this famously, but Will Vint was part of the kind of trialed for Manchester United.
He was in the academy there for a while until his visa expired.
Right.
His dad's visa expired, which means he couldn't play there anymore.
Right, and yeah, kind of sad for him, but yeah, and now he's playing with the Rapids, which, yeah, I guess that's
they have the plague outside of their stadium from time to time.
But anyway, so in terms of the coronavirus, it is definitely affecting a lot of things. Serie A.
Yeah, speaking of Aaron Ramsey killing things,
oh man,
Aaron Ramsey killed Serie A.
Yeah, it seems like. So there's a whole thing about Aaron Ramsey, and when he scores, like, unfortunately, someone famous dies. Now it seems like he has killed in terms of a whole league continuing. He's, yeah, stopped and suspended Serie A. Not really, obviously, but, yeah, I mean, it is very interesting. Coincidental type of thing. Like, oh, man, like...
Who else he killed?
I mean, it's, I think Prince, unfortunately.
Michael Jackson?
He hasn't killed directly. Just,
wait, was it Michael Jackson?
When he scored.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's pretty much when he scored, which, I mean, it used to be kind of frequent. In like 2013, it was frequent. But now it's not as frequent. And so, yeah, there are, you know, famous people that pass away coincidentally when he scores.
Because Aaron Ramsey scored. Anyway. That's just how the universe works. But yeah, no, Italy has actually canceled all sporting events up until possibly early April or longer. They are, outside of China, the worst affected sport, or worst affected country, I should say, of the coronavirus. But as far as the coronavirus is here at home, MLS is also making a few changes.
Right, and so they're closing locker rooms to the media due to the coronavirus concerns, and so is Major League Baseball, basketball, and hockey. And yeah, I mean, it's, I think preventative is probably wise at this moment, and we'll see if it goes any further than that, if there will be some closed-door games for MLS as well. We shall see, but this is the unfortunate part. Hopefully all of this gets resolved at some point very, very soon, hopefully for humanity. But anyway, so that does it for the news and gets us to buy or sell, and we pretty much simply put up an Atlanta United topic and we say if we buy or sell it and give our reasons why. First topic is that George Campbell will get more than 20 appearances across all competitions for the first team in 2020. Buy or sell?
I'm still going to sell this. I think that I mean, if the current injury crisis continues throughout the whole season, I think that maybe that's a possibility. But if players are fit, I think Lawrence White is ahead of him in the pecking order. Otherwise, Frank DeBoer wouldn't have chosen him to start over him this week or chosen him to come off the bench against Nashville. So I think Lawrence White possibly is ahead of him in terms of appearances after he recovers from his concussion. And then if everyone else is fit, I mean, you've got a pretty solid group there that will start most of your games, especially once Robinson is there as well. So I still think he maybe get in the teens somewhere, but 20 is a really big number, and I'm going to sell that he gets 20 this season.
Yeah. I definitely sell as well. I think he can. I think hit the 10 mark definitely across all competitions because of you know, all the competitions that we're in, and I think kind of the injury crisis that we're in as well. I think he could see maybe extended run for minutes because concussions, you have to really take that a little slow. So we'll see with Miles Robinson and Franco Escobar how quickly they come back. But yeah, he could reach 10, I think, very quickly in the next 2 months. So next topic is that LA United will play a closed door match this season because of the coronavirus, possibly. Buy or sell?
I'm going to buy, and not specifically whether or not that's here in Atlanta or on the road. It seems to be that there's going to be that's the way that things are going, especially in Europe. Champions League matches are getting played behind closed doors. Ligue 1 has now said all matches will be behind closed doors. England's being very bullish and saying, F it, we're going for it anyway. I think America is very similar in some ways, but without getting into politics at all, I think that it does pose a health concern. And with the the diversity that you have in the Atlanta United fan base, there is a percentage of those people who would be susceptible, particularly older people over the age of, I believe, 60 or so are the people most susceptible to suffering the worst from the coronavirus. Yeah, it doesn't seem to have a handle on it right now, and usually with these types of things, they get worse before they get better. And out of safety concerns, I could see at least maybe one being played behind closed doors this season. Yeah,
I also buy that, we'll play a closed door. I don't know if it'll be at the Benz. I mean, I think if it really is a massive concern,
they'll pause the season.
They'll pause the season, and it'll be like Serie A or something like that. So, and that would be an absolute shame. But I mean, I think for the absolute health of the people as well, I think that's a greater concern. So. That does it for buy or sell, and that gets us to the mailbag. You guys send in these questions through IG story. Please continue to do so, and we might answer your question in the future. Apologies, we'll have to go through a little quickly for this time because we have a match preview as well in this one. But first question comes from Joey Rector, and he asks, you can only start 2. Rossetto, Heinemann, and Remedi. Who sits?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think once he gets fit and is fully playing, I think Rossetto has to start. Depending on how things go, you could get all 3. But to answer your question and not dodge it completely, I'm going to go Rossetto and Heinemann. I think they will offer more in terms of attacking and going forward. I think it's a bit bold at times and maybe a bit open at the back. And Remedi has played well so far, in my opinion, this season. But I think in terms of technical ability and attacking and going forward, you get the most out of those 2, although it may leave you a bit unbalanced.
Yeah, that's super attacking, ultra attacking on that for sure.
Although I will say, I will posit that depending on how the hunt for a striker goes, I could see a front 3 of Rossetto, Barco, and Petey, in which case Remedi can play, and I dodge your question.
But yeah, I think who sits in this? This is super tough. I think Rossetto can also play on the right side of midfield as well, apparently, and so that may be a way to skirt that. But I think in terms of incumbent and in terms of earning your place, right now it's Heinemann and Remedi as the guys that have earned their place in the team at the moment. And so I think Rossetto still needs to gain match fitness. So at this moment, Heinemann and Remedi. Next question comes from King West 11. Do you think we can win trophies without Joseph? That's a good question.
I mean, I think US Open Cup you can absolutely win without Joseph.
Yeah, I agree there. I think we have enough depth, I think, to win US Open Cup if we can keep all our people healthy. That's a massive if at this moment. But
and depending on how the season goes, you could see Frank DeBoer prioritize that because it gets you Champions League football.
Right, and so I think he's talked about MLS Cup as being a priority, but I think he's a smart man at the end of the day. He knows which competitions he needs to prioritize to meet the objectives of the front office and the team. And so I think in terms of that, at the very least, and maybe in terms of injury crisis at the moment, at the most, for just slightly, US Open Cup, but hopefully we can smash beyond those expectations for sure. Last question comes from Matteo Andante. How different will the starting 11 in the last game of the season look versus the next game?
Ooh. Well, injuries have a lot to do with that. If I had to make a bold prediction, you know, assuming Joseph doesn't have a crazy recovery period, which is possible given the time frame, he could very well be back come the very end of the season, but, you know, that's being optimistic. My gut is that if Atlanta United doesn't sign a striker, your front three is going to be some combination of Josetu, Petey, and Barco, because they're all very quick, they're all very technical, they're all very attacking. And then it really depends on what formation Atlanta United decide they want to end up playing. If it's going with the back three, I think as of right now, your best three center backs are Escobar, Mesa and Robinson. And then it really depends on your wing backs, I think, and see who comes fit. And Mulroney's been decent so far, but we haven't seen Castillo or Bello. And then on the right, I think it's really right now just Brooks Lennon, but also Anton Walks has been playing really good so far this season.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tough. I think, you know, if everyone is healthy, obviously that's a different story here. I think you at least maybe see 3 to 4 spots right now change a little bit, I think, which is a little bit crazy. And but I think speaks to, you know, what we're facing at the moment. So yeah, I think it will look pretty different at the end of the season for sure. But thank you guys for sending those questions, and this gets us to our match preview. And so Wednesday, it's the CCL match. It's leg 1 of the quarterfinals against Club America. And this is a serious one. This is a big one. They are looking for revenge for the Campeones Cup. Whether they like to say that, oh, they didn't take it seriously or not, yeah, we both played semi-reserve sides, but also guys that seen the you know, at least starting 11s or a lot of playing time. So, you know.
And it was very competitive. The match itself, regardless of what anyone wants to say, the players that were put on the pitch that night tried, both for Club America and for Atlanta United. They wanted to win that game. They were disappointed to lose that game. Miguel Herrera said as much after the game, and the newspapers in Mexico definitely said as much the next day.
Thrashed them.
Because they took a beating for losing that match.
Loser.
They made it very clear that in Mexico, they definitely were drugged through the mud for losing that game. So regardless of what anyone wants to say, losing that game was an embarrassment for Club America. They did not want to lose that game. So they absolutely will have revenge on their minds hosting Atlanta United this week in the Champions League. They're going to probably put out their strongest possible squad to put a message down and saying, hey, you shouldn't have beaten us the first time. It's going to be interesting. Both teams have injuries, but we'll see what happens with this one. It's going to be a very good game come, what is it, Tuesday night? Wednesday night? It all blends together.
It really does. But in terms of the venue, it is the legendary, it is the historic Estadio Azteca. And yeah, Frank de Boer has even mentioned that, yeah, as a player, he missed out on it, but he's looking forward to playing there as, or not playing there, but yeah, he's coaching there as a manager for Atlanta United. And yeah, I mean, in terms of this type of, you know, atmosphere that we're facing is maybe pretty similar to the Benz, but I think definitely they can even add even more of you know, people into it, and so it's going to be really, I think, a sight to behold for sure. And I think though, you know, the players are used to massive crowds, and so hopefully that's not really too much of an issue. But why is Club America such a massive club? Why are they held with such regard in this territory in the world? I mean, because yeah, they're the most storied team in Liga MX.
The most successful team in Liga MX. And you also have to think they've existed for over 100 years more than Atlanta United has. And not only have they been successful domestically, they've been successful in this exact competition as well. This club has pedigree. I mean, if you want to break down the league titles and the number of cups they've won, it's the most in Mexico.
Right, and so in terms of, yeah, you know, they have a record 13 titles. They have 6 Copa MX titles. They have 6 Campeón de Campeones cups. In terms of international trophies, they have won 10 FIFA recognized club trophies, including 7 CONCACAF Champions Leagues. So yeah, they are something to contend with for sure, not to be taken lightly at all. And then I think also in terms of, you know, what we are facing with them, They're just such a deep side. No matter if they're really injured or not, their second 11 is quite pricey as well. In
their second 11 could start and do well in Major League Soccer, and by do well I mean they'd be a top league side in Major League Soccer.
Exactly. And so yeah, in terms of that price difference, in terms of total market value, it's quite stark. But you know, in terms of that, that's 74.69 million kind of total market value according to Transfer Market for Club America. For us, we're at 65.53. Doesn't seem like that far off, but then you think about, you know, how many players and the quality of players that you can buy for, you know, maybe the 13 or 9 million difference. But you also have to keep in mind that we are down a striker that's worth 19.25 million for us. And so what does that get us down to? Somewhere in the 40s.
So scores, what, 30% of our goal, or 40% of our goals, worth 30% of our team value. Joseph Martinez, everybody.
So we are missing that from our team. But, you know, it's still, though, we have a lot of talent, but that's the mountain we are facing. So we do need to be aware of that. Now, in terms of, yeah, their manager, Miguel Herrera, he's a 51-year-old Mexican. He was appointed in 2017. He usually plays with a 4-4-2 with a double 6. And yeah, I think he had really high praise for Mercedes-Benz Stadium. He called the venue the best stadium in the world. High praise, really, really, you know, great to hear that. But you know, we won't be playing there, so that's also a thing. So, you know, that return leg is at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. But in terms of how they've been playing recently, in their last 6, they have won 3 and drawn 2 and lost 1, of course. They were 6th in the league table with 31 points in the 2019 Apertura and 3rd right now in the 2020 Clausura. And with us, we are 1st in the East with the 2 wins. We, of course, drew and won against Motagua. In terms of Club America, their last match, they drew 3-3 away against Pumas, which, yeah, it's kind of a derby for them. And yeah, I mean, they kind of broke a duck that they were really trying to get out of for a while. 8 goals in 8 games, kind of their record low in terms of goal scoring before that Pumas match in terms of in their last 12 years. And so that's their worst stretch, insane, and they just got out of it in a sense. But still, I mean, that's kind of hopefully bodes well for us in terms of scoring.
Well, in terms of how we got here, obviously Atlanta United defeated Motagua, like AJ just said, with the draw and the win, 4-1 on aggregate. But Club America had a very difficult time getting past Comunicaciones, which was, I believe, a Guatemalan side in the last one. They had to go to penalties, and it was very tight. And until Comunicaciones had a guy see a red card for a horror tackle, Club America was losing 1-0 at home, and they ended up getting their own penalty. They drew 0-1, it went to pens, and then they won 5-4. So they had everything thrown against them, and they struggled at times. They didn't look the best. But that being said, there's unfinished business between them and Atlanta United. And they're definitely, like I said before, they're going to want to go out and prove a point here. And sometimes focus can be something for a big club. Right. They were a big club. They knew at the end of the day, probably in the back of their heads, they were always going to get past Comunicaciones. And like
maybe overlook them.
Maybe overlook them. I
maybe the
doubt that happens for Atlanta United.
Yeah, definitely not. And so in terms of them at home, they are 7-3-3 with 24 points overall in the 2019 Apertura and 2020 Clausura combined, with a goal difference of 8. In terms of us away, we were 6-1-10 with only 19 points last season. And yeah, I mean, that's stark.
Yeah,
but,
I think the biggest issue that you see here is, you know, the previous trip to Mexico not being the preseason friendly. The previous trip to Mexico in the Champions League tie against Monterrey last year, where Atlanta United was okay, didn't create a lot, but then at the end of the game, you saw the inexperience, you saw the you know, the tiredness seep into the side, and you can see those 2 late goals, which really ended up being, you know, the deciding factor in that tie. And, you know, you're going to a stadium that's at a higher altitude, it's bigger, it's going to be just as aggressive against a really good team. It's going to be a difficult situation for Atlanta United to go in. As far as away trips are concerned, this will be the toughest away match Atlanta United has probably ever played.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, yeah, next to that Monterrey match probably for sure. But in terms of their players to watch, they have a young guy in Federico Vinas who's got 3 goals so far in Clausura. He's a 21-year-old Uruguayan forward, and he has been kind of starting in place of a Roger Martinez, who has been kind of, you know, almost exiled out of the team for the time being, but might be brought back.
He's being brought back into the team, of course.
Perfect timing, of course. Yeah, and another guy to maybe watch for sure is Luis Fuentes, a defender, 33-year-old Mexican, already has 2 goals in Clausura. So he's a guy that we will watch out for on set pieces for sure. And Andres Ibargüen also has 2 goals from the left wing, a 27-year-old Colombian. Very, very good at crossing and dribbling past opponents. So yeah, our right side, Brooks Lennon, will have a lot to contend with, as well as whomever starts at right center back.
Basically, everyone's good.
Yeah. And so you also have the likes of someone who's not healthy at the moment, but Giovanni Dos Santos. MLS fans are, I think, familiar with him, and I think U.S. men's national team fans are familiar with Memo Ochoa of the Mexican national team, who is a legendary goalkeeper.
Although I will say he did not start in their last Champions League tie. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but the goalkeeper that started against Atlanta United in the Campeones Cup last season, he was the one who played their Champions League matches the first go around. I'll be curious to see who does in fact start in goal for them. Both are very talented goalkeepers, but Ochoa is obviously the better of the two. He will be a tough nut to crack should he be the one to start. And I think the other thing that Atlanta fans have to remember is just how aggressive this team is. And AJ mentioned it earlier that Miguel Herrera prefers to play a 4-4-2. It really at times is 4-2-4 because those central midfielders will hold, although they have the ability to go forward and score themselves. But the wingers will really push high up the pitch, and they will attack, and they will attack with pace. This team is very, very quick. If you were at the Campeones Cup match last season or watched it, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, which is why Atlanta United, especially those wing backs, are going to have to be very careful about if and when they go forward in this match.
Right, you have to be very, very choosy for sure. In terms of Atlanta United, if you are a Club America fan watching this, of course you have to watch out for Petey Martinez, who nearly got a man of the match probably last match, and definitely got, I think, you know, maybe shafted a little bit for the Nashville match. I think he probably should have also had a pretty good shout for that, but he's in 2019 had 7 goals and 11 assists.
If I had to pick one player to watch, if there are Club America fans watching this, and honestly most of them are going to be very familiar with Petey Martinez already, this is going to be the type of game that he's going to enjoy. He will relish playing in this game. He will relish playing in the stadium. He will relish playing a big match. He shows up. I mean, this is what he did when he was at River Plate. This is what he wants to show so he can earn that move to Europe. And I think if Atlanta United wants to have a chance in this game, Petey Martinez is going to be that guy to watch because, well, there's a lot of players that aren't playing for Atlanta United.
Right. But in terms of another player, Ezequiel Barco, of course. Yeah, he's a guy that has been, running the team in a sense through his possession and through just his incredible work rate. And it has been really joy to see that kind of development even from last year. I mean, you could see just the link up between he and Petey is really on point this season. And in terms of a defender to look at, Fernando Mesa has been really that experienced guy in the back who's really held it down in spite of all the chaos that's going on around him.
And he will be very familiar with this opposition and this stadium.
Indeed. Playing with Necaxa, he has, in terms of, played at Azteca before. He has spoke about what he expects from this game, and he says he expects to win. In terms of what he's expecting completely, he says, I'm convinced that we can win. Obviously, it's going to be an entertaining game because they play well. The field at Estadio Azteca is well suited for that, so it will be a show, and when they come here, it will be the same. And I think he obviously is very familiar with that team, and maybe not, the rest of the team is as familiar, but I think, him playing with Necaxa, who, I think are unfortunately maybe not the size of a Club America, and still he feels that, we have an opportunity. I think that's, bullish on his part, and that's the mindset we need to have going in for sure. Now, in terms of injuries and all that, both of the clubs are reeling at the moment. They might be out a ton of players. Bruno Valdez, Santiago Caceres are injured. Giovanni Dos Santos is a doubt. Henry Martin is also a doubt. Sebastian Cordova, Sebastian Caceres, Nicolas Benedetti, Nicolas Castillo, and Renato Ibarra are all injured. And also, interestingly, Ibarra, he was formally charged this past week with domestic violence and an attempted femicide. And that was after an alleged assault on his pregnant partner. And so that's some strange ordeals going on around the team. You know, you never want to see all that, but they are, reeling just as we are. Joseph Martinez, of course, is out with an ACL tear. Franco Escobar, he has a leg injury and is out of training. Lawrence Wyke with a concussion. It goes on and on. Edgar Castillo, rib, not in training. George Bello, he played for Atlanta United 2 over the weekend, as we said, and he could play a part. But in terms of Robinson, he has a quad, unavailable. And Manuel Castro has trained with the team this past week after he came in the middle of last week. And per Frank de Boer, Castro could see up to 30 minutes versus Club America, and that would be interesting. I mean, that's a lot of minutes to maybe almost kind of promise almost, but we shall see if he's going to be able to play all of that. But he was asked if he prefers to play any position, and he says it's right or left wing, which in a three-man backline isn't really as prominent / not there. But Castro also will wear number 15, previously, of course, worn by Tito Fischalba. And in terms of him playing a part in the coming games, Frank de Boer is pretty much saying in the coming weeks he will get his minutes. So Frank de Boer also mentioned what a good result was for him. He said 5-0. Yeah, I mean he was joking, of course, but no, everybody knows it's going to be a very difficult game for us. If we score a goal, that's always nice to have. If we have a draw like a 1-1, it should be great, of course. But even a small loss like 2-1, there's no man overboard. And also he went on to say, we don't have to make the game. They have to score. We are an attacking side, so we want to be part of that aspect also. But of course, we have to choose our moments carefully. Now, in terms of the lineup for Club America last week against Pumas, it looked like this. Mimo Ochoa between the sticks, Aguilar, Sanchez, Aguilera, Fuentes in that back line, and then you have Sanchez and Gonzalez in the middle there in midfield, and Suarez and Cordova on the wings, and Henry Martin and Federico Vina up top as that 4-4-2.
And they played on Friday night as well, so they have 1 extra days of rest plus no travel over at Lance United.
All right, and so that's something to contend with for sure. Now, some of the keys to the game, I think, for this and for us is that, if we get our chances, we have to be very efficient, and efficient like we have been in terms of if we get a shot off, we have to finish off those chances for sure, because he might rue those chances if we do not. That service for Adam John might be pretty important.
His hold-up play will be incredibly important.
Yes, indeed. And so if he can bring in the other players into the game, it will be clutch. And then we will deal with a makeshift backline again, so we shall see how we do with that again. Now, in terms of our predicted 11, what do we think?
Well, me and you both agree on our starting 11, mostly because, well, there's not a lot of options to go with here.
Yes.
So obviously Brad Guzan is going to be our keeper starting in net. Nothing about that said.
Yep.
Back line.
Back line, I think,
That's where it's interesting.
Very, very interesting, because do you play Campbell? Do you play someone with more experience? I think we do, and I think Jeff Larentowicz plays a part. Also, I think he, not only scored that golazo versus them in the Campeones Cup, I think he will bring that experience, and he will play that as, I think, the sweeper role.
And he's got that edge to him as well. He's up for a big game, and he's not going to shirk from anyone. And to play a Campbell in this match is it's almost like trying to play Miles Robinson and George Bello against Herediano away last season. You're putting them in a very difficult position to succeed, and you have lots of expectation, big downside. So I don't think it's the best position to put him in. If you have to start him because of nothing else, then you do, but I agree with you. I think Jeff Reynolds will start just because of that experience factor.
Right. And so Walks and Mesa flank him as the left and right center back. I think the other way around if I said it opposite, but Mesa will be on the left, I think.
As far as wingbacks go, Lennon, Mulroney, no other real obvious choices outside of those two. They're going to go. And same thing with the midfielders. It's going to be Eric Hermedi and Emerson Hyndman. Both have been playing well together. And I think a player like Josetu off the bench in this game, if things can become a bit stretched later on, that could be a really positive thing to have. But I think he's still new to the team, not fully fit. And this isn't a place where you start a player for their first league start. Yeah,
definitely not. And also, I think, we agree here that Barco, PT, of course, and John up top. Definitely. We've been alluding to his hold-up play. He, I think, with that kind of run out on Saturday, we needed to see how it looked like, and we can see that there was a start of a connection happening, but in terms of the true out and out chemistry, it's remaining to be seen, and hopefully it does get better. But what would we like to see the team do? I think that we need to get those players in the box like we were doing against FC Cincy. Now, if we are able to be on top for a moment in the game, then we should pour some numbers forward and still have a safety valve in the back, of course. But we need to at least try to create some chances because we cannot defend the entire game. No. And that would be a little bit detrimental, not only to our energy levels, but also, I think it will be lopsided if that happens.
Absolutely. Well, Atlanta United, let's be realistic here. Atlanta United will not win the possession battle in this match. They will, in my opinion, probably have anywhere between 35 and 40% possession, somewhere in there. I don't see Frank de Boer conceding more than that, and I also think Atlanta United is a good enough team to have around that area. I think the really big key for Atlanta United here, and this is how Comunicaciones scored as well, and this is how Club America looked vulnerable, is when Atlanta United gets the chance to break, they have to break, and they have to break efficiently. They're going to have to play passes quickly, and they're not going to be able to take 1, 2, 3, 4 touches on the ball. So looking at you, Ezequiel Barco, he's going to have to make decisions very quickly, and if he has the ability to play a first-time ball through, to whether it's a Petey Martinez or someone else, he's going to have to, because that is where you will be able to get at Club America, because like Frank de Boer said, the emphasis is on them. The impetus is on them to score goals at home. The chances and the spaces will be there. Atlanta United has to be ruthless. It has to be efficient when they get them. Yeah,
and I even think, if Lennon can play an early ball from the wing as well as, Mulroney, if he, I don't think he maybe has as much time to dwell on it, to dribble as much. The wing play will be very vital in this match as well. And so hopefully, they are able to muster up something in terms of service for us. Now, the odds in this...
Well, I think, hold on, there's one more thing that builds into the odds. And this, I think, is the most important thing about this whole match, is keeping our heads.
Yes,
that is the most important thing.
Yeah, if we concede a goal, let's not let it become 1, 2, 3 goals. And
can't be like Monterrey last year where you concede that second and then concede a third. You have to be able to keep your head. And even in the first match against Club America that we played in the Campeones Cup, they were trying to wind certain players up. Again, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but if that backup goalkeeper is playing in Ochoa, he is a top-class shithouser, and he will be trying to wind up everybody that he can. So Atlanta United will have to make sure they keep their heads and make sure they stay focused. If they can do that, they'll have a chance to get a result because, like we're about to get into, the odds ain't great.
The odds are against us for sure. According to Bet365, it's 69% chance for America to win. A draw is 23%, and it's 15.4% for LA United to possibly win. So, with all that said, what is your score prediction?
I'm going to go for 3-1 Club America. It's not an ideal scoreline. I think that you get that away goal, which is important. I think that Atlanta United can get that away goal, just having seen how Club America played. They have struggled to score, but they scored 3 in their last match, and I think against a back line that's going to be a bit makeshift and put together, maybe not the paciest in the world, and with a little bit of aggression for revenge spurring them on, I just think that Club America are a really good side, and for a team like Atlanta United to be without so many key players is a really tough position to be put in. So I'm going to go 3-1 to Club America.
Yeah, I also have us as losing this match, but not quite as bad. I think 2-1 will be the scoreline. It, I think, plays a part where they've been struggling a little bit. Yeah, in terms of us, we've on the road not been absolutely spectacular, and definitely against the likes of Nashville, it was not absolutely the most spectacular display either. And so us against a side like Club America, yeah, we really have to play almost a different game. And so this different game is us bunkering a little bit more, us hitting on the counter, and I think we can hold them off for at least not too many goals. So 2-1 is the scoreline for me. But that's pretty much our match preview. Let us know what your score predictions are in the comments below. But that's pretty much the entire show as well, except for the question of the day.
The question of the day, guys, is going to revolve around Club America. But if you didn't check out the fan cam, Ron from Parceros United and Final 30 Pod, kind of like me, but maybe a bit more pessimistic in terms of the final result. But I totally see where he's coming from in terms of Club America, should I say, his quality. He thinks we're probably going to get pumped in this one. So guys, what do you think? I mean, let's just get down to the scoreline, get down to the comments below. Let us know what you think the scoreline is going to be. Do you agree with Ron? If you haven't seen that fan cam, check it out below. And yeah, guys, let us know what you think.
But guys, that's it for us today. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, smash that like button, and share this video because it really does help us a lot. And for Tanner, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you later this week, actually.